Everyone, and welcome to Kazatomprom's conference call to discuss 2025 half-year operating and financial results. I'm Kotagos, and I'm leading the investor relations team at Kazatomprom. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. Traditionally, our conversation will begin with the management presentations, which today will be delivered by Mr. Dastan Kosherbayev, Chief Strategy and International Development Officer. Let me take this chance and pass the apologies from our CEO, who could not participate at today's call due to business travels. At this time, and through the management presentation, all participants will be in a listen-only mode. This call is open to all stakeholders, with the question and answer portion intended to be an opportunity for members of the investment community to engage with the management team and ask their questions through the phone lines in English. English line participants will also have an option to submit questions through the webcast page using the Ask a Question button. The simultaneous translation of the English Q&A will be available for Russian-speaking line. For those who join through the company's or the London Stock Exchange websites, there will be slides displayed during the remarks. These webcast slides will be available for download in English and in Russian shortly after the call. Note that our press release, full version of the 2025 half-year operating and financial review, along with the financial statements for the 3 and 6 months ended 30th June 2025, are now available on Kazatomprom's website. Participating in today's call, we have Dastan Kosherbayev, Chief Strategy and International Development Officer, and Seyjan Janibekov, Managing Director for Sales. Please note that this conference call may include forward-looking statements. These statements include all matters that are not historical facts, but by their nature, forward-looking statements involve risk and uncertainties, and they are not guarantees of future performance. The company does not make any representation, warranty, or prediction that the results anticipated by such forward-looking statements will be achieved. I am now passing the floor to Mr. Kosherbayev.
Thank you. I'm delighted to welcome and thank everyone for joining our conference call on 2025 half-year operating and financial results. Kazatomprom continues to demonstrate both reliability and a responsible, disciplined approach in its operations. Prior to moving to the company-level discussion, we would like to reiterate the worldwide recognized importance of nuclear energy, which by now has become an integral part of the global energy policy. The strong fundamentals of the uranium market underpin our confidence in the industry's long-term prospects. News from various jurisdictions about their plans to incorporate nuclear energy into their energy mix as a baseload option, to expand existing capacities by constructing new nuclear power plants or extending the lifespan of operating ones, continue to support the global nuclear agenda. This reinforces our conviction that the second nuclear renaissance is not a short-term trend, but a lasting structural shift. The most recent example of that comes from Japan, which has announced plans for construction of the first new nuclear power plant post-Fukushima. As the world's largest producer and seller of natural uranium, Kazatomprom fully recognizes the critical role the company has in supporting the global energy transition. We remain committed to delivering long-term value to all stakeholders. Industry forecasts remain to reveal a growing supply gap that current production volumes will not be able to meet in the expected future. By 2040, the cumulative uranium supply deficit is projected to reach approximately 570 million pounds of U3O8, a volume that underscores the significant supply challenge facing the industry. In response, several producers have made the decision to restart idled capacity and bring new projects into production. While these efforts will help address near-term requirements, they will not be enough to cover the industry's growing uranium needs beyond 2030. This shortfall is exacerbated by geopolitical uncertainty, inflationary pressures, and global supply chain constraints. Some of these factors were previously viewed as transitionary, but are appearing to be persistent. As we have repeatedly previous disclosures, the market will require the equivalent of another Kazatomprom-sized producer to keep pace with future demand. A frequent misconception in the market is the assumption that new uranium supply can be developed quickly and at a low cost. In reality, advancing new projects is a lengthy and complex process that involves exploration, permitting, infrastructure, and financing, all of which require significant time and capital. This reality is often underestimated, leading to overly optimistic expectations about how fast new supply can come online. Surveys, including those conducted by IAEA, confirm that the world hosts sufficient uranium resources to meet long-term demand. However, a growing proportion of these resources is more technically challenging and costly to access. As a result, depending on one's position on the production cost curve, current market prices may not be sufficient to justify the investment needed to bring these projects into production. The typical 8 to 15-year lag from discovery to production means that even near-ready projects face hurdles like permitting, financing, environmental approvals, staffing issues, and technical ramp-up. Even when a project achieves commercial production, it is still subject to operational challenges. All these factors point to a slower than expected supply response at precisely the time when utilities concerned about geopolitical supply risks are starting to lock into long-term contracts. Kazatomprom is currently undertaking a large-scale exploration in Kazakhstan, which is a top priority for replenishing its resource base and maintaining its leading position as a global nuclear fuel supplier. Worth noting that this strategic initiative received support at the highest governmental level. The unique geology of Kazakhstan enables us to augment substantial volumes of our resource balance at a far lower investment scale in comparison. Such an advantage reaffirms our trust in investment to exploration of new territories, depreciating any efforts to acquire additional non-attributable reserves at our existing mines. Speaking about the production from other parts of the world, we're eager to hear more positive developments from new and previously idled mines. We firmly believe that the current market conditions offer opportunities for every participant in the fuel cycle to thrive. Having the market structural shift is the production and sales discipline sustained by key uranium producers. Specifically, our adherence to market discipline aligns with our strategy of generating long-term value for shareholders. The spot price level of around $70 per pound is similar to the price level at the end of 2024. However, the uranium spot market was volatile over the past 6 months, with a low of $63 per pound in March and back to $78 per pound by the end of June. Despite the volatility in the spot uranium market and the broader capital markets, some of which may be due to uncertainty brought by tariff wars, uranium long-term price has remained stable at $80 per pound, proving that fundamentals remain strong. The company continues to adhere to its market-centric approach, ensuring that its uranium supply remains closely aligned with demand and that production decisions are driven by long-term value considerations rather than volume growth targets. As part of ongoing operational enhancements, a number of companies' mining subsidiaries are in the process of amending their subsoil use agreements. These amendments establish nominal licensed production levels for the affected entities, thereby changing the reference benchmarks against which actual production is measured. Concurrently, negotiations with joint venture partners remain in progress. The outcomes of these discussions may result in further refinements to Kazatomprom's 2026 production expectations. In line with the updated development strategy for 2025-2034, which emphasizes the efficient use of the resource base, the company will exercise a responsible, disciplined approach and downflex within the acceptable 20% deviation under the updated 2026 subsoil use production levels. Actual 2026 production guidance remains subject to ongoing negotiation with JV partners and broader market considerations. Sulfuric acid supplies for 2026 are estimated to be stable. Diverse geological characteristics of the company's assets, combined with residual effects for past supply constraints, may lead to variations in uranium recovery rates and different percentage rate decreases compared to the levels stipulated in the subsoil use agreements across individual mining operations. Detailed in the newly published 2024 concentration report on the mineral assets of the company, 2026 nominal production level on a 100% basis is expected to change from around 85 million pounds of UCO8 as per 2021 data to about 77 million pounds, representing about 8 million pounds or roughly 10% decrease, most of which is attributable to JV Budyonovskoye production adjustments. The company believes that the group's updated production profile represents a more sustainable deployment of its mineral assets in line with the updated development strategy for 2025-2034, which concentrates on the efficient use of Kazatomprom's resource base. The company maintains a robust inventory position and a disciplined sales strategy, ensuring that all delivery obligations will be met in full while retaining flexibility to respond quickly to market developments. Turning to our half-year results, the company demonstrated robust performance, which reinforces our confidence in achieving our 2025 targets. Let me now draw your attention to our updated sensitivity analysis. Our estimated group average realized price remains in line with the levels shown in our previous sensitivity table, with several changes in the years ahead attributed to amendments in the methodology expected to deliver more precise results. Our sales portfolio continues to show one of the strongest correlations with spot prices in the entire market. Our first half 2025 financial performance reflects both the strength of our operations and certain one-time effects that influenced year-on-year comparisons. For the period, the group's consolidated revenue totaled 660 billion tenge, down 6% from 701 billion tenge in the first half of 2024. This decline was mainly driven by decrease in sales volume. Operating profit for the first half of 2025 reached 254 billion tenge, a 12% increase compared to 227 billion tenge in the same period of 2024. This improvement was mainly due to a decrease in the cost of sales related to a lower share of purchased uranium from JVs and associates in the total volume of sales to third parties. Net profit amounted to 263 billion tenge, down from the same period of 2024, mainly due to the gain from consolidation of JV Budyonovskaya and other one-off income last year. When adjusted for these one-time effects, net profit decreased only by 5%. This adjusted figure was also impacted by a net foreign exchange loss of 12.7 billion tenge compared to a gain of 7.3 billion tenge in the first half of 2024. Taken together, these results underscore the resilience of our core business, the strength of our cost position, and our ability to deliver solid operating performance despite price fluctuations and external headwinds. In the first half of 2025, our cash costs rose by 6% and our all-in sustaining costs increased by 10% in US dollar terms compared to the same period of 2024. Main drivers of the increase in C1 cash costs were a higher mineral extraction tax rate and rising sulfuric acid prices. On average, our cost of sulfuric acid increased by 43%. This reflects the ongoing price uncertainty in Kazakhstan's market, as well as higher prices for imported volumes. In the first half of this year, sulfuric acid accounted for about 15% of the group's uranium production costs, compared to 13% during the same period last year. For investors' convenience, we have also updated the sensitivity for mineral extraction tax in line with the new CPR report. As you can notice, the table itself changed very little, with incremental changes across the board. The company leaves all guidance metrics for 2025 unchanged, except for capped sales volume range, which is reduced by 500 tons. This adjustment resulted from a shift in the 2025 delivery schedule, where a contract delivery has been rescheduled to a later period as per the customer's request. The group sales guidance for 2025 remains intact with the earlier announced range. Beyond our operational and financial results, we would like to highlight some major corporate developments. In July, we completed the payment of dividends for the year 2024, totaling 328 billion tenge, or approximately $2.3 per share GDR. Our dividend yield remains to be highest in the industry. Our Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Mirjan Yusupov, has been elected to the Board of Governors of the World Nuclear Association. He is the first representative from Kazakhstan to join this key governing body. On 8th of August, an inauguration ceremony was held for the beginning of construction of the first nuclear power plant in Kazakhstan. It's worth mentioning that Kazakhstan's intention to build 3 nuclear power plants would create a substantial domestic demand in the future. With each plant requiring around 400 tons of uranium annually over their respective operational lifetimes, this translates to a cumulative demand of 72,000 tons. A portion of the company's production could therefore be allocated to national needs over time. As we conclude, I want to reaffirm our unwavering commitment to a market-focused strategy, a keystone of our long-term success. Once again, with world-class assets, a sustainable reserve base, and strong, diverse sales portfolio, Kazatomprom is well positioned to capture the opportunities ahead. The company takes its role in strengthening global energy policy seriously. Its leadership in ESG, combined with the scale of its operations, enables the company to remain a reliable and responsible supplier of natural uranium globally. We are ready to participate in diversification of utility supply sources, and our strong position in this new cycle of long-term contracting reflects the trust and confidence the market places in us. Thank you for your attention. I'll now ask the operator to open the line to allow questions from this call's participants.
We will now begin the question and answer session. Please limit yourself to 1 to 2 questions at a time. If you have additional questions, you are welcome to rejoin the queue. As a reminder, you can also submit questions using the Ask a Question button on the webcast page. To ask a question on the phone line, please press star followed by the number 1 on your telephone keypad. We'll pause for a moment to assemble the queue. Our first question comes from the line of Andrew Wong with RBC Capital Markets. Please go ahead.
Hey, thank you for taking my questions. I appreciate it. Could you maybe provide a little bit more commentary on the 2026 production and, the sulfuric acid supplies look like they might be about flattish or about stable versus 2025. Would it be fair to assume that maybe the 2026 production levels are somewhat similar to 2025 given that? And I know you can't provide specific numbers, but maybe just directionally what 2026 could look like versus 2025. Thank you.
Yes. Hi. Thank you. Thank you for your question. Well, this is an ongoing process, as we've already mentioned. Right now, we're in discussion with our JV partners on whether what's going on. There are a lot of implications. Certainly, it would be safe to say that the production level in 2026 may exceed the level in 2025, but the overall level would be disclosed further down the road, I guess.
Okay. Thank you. And then regarding the extra sulfuric acid plants that Kazatomprom is looking to construct, has that started construction, and what's the timeline on that?
Well, as we previously disclosed, the timeline was the second quarter of 2027, the end of first quarter of 2027, and we don't expect that to change.
Okay. And has construction started yet, or just the financing has been secured? I saw that.
The construction has already commenced. The underground, like the excavating works are in process as we speak.
Okay. Thank you very much. I much appreciate it.
The construction preparation work and everything is basically according to the schedule.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Once again, for those that are on the phone line and would like to ask a question, please press star followed by the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Your next question comes from the line of Alexander Pierce with BMO. Please go ahead.
Hi, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my question. Can you just provide a little bit more detail on the current contracting discussions that you're having? It looks like in terms of total market volume of contracts signed year to date, we're still well below replacement rates for utilities. And what do you think we need to see, or what is going to drive the step up in contracting with utilities?
Let's see John take this question since you will get the information firsthand.
Hi. Many thanks for the question. I think it's fair to say that we're seeing more and more activity going on. This year there were several requests for proposals being sent from the different parts of the world. It's been publicly known that utilities from the US, utilities from Europe, and utilities from Asia, all of them are issuing requests for quotations and requests for proposals. So indeed, a lot of procurement teams from utilities, they are looking at where the world is moving politically in terms of sanctioning, in terms of tariffs, etc. And because of that, there's a lot of uncertainty. But even though we're seeing requests from the utilities, and it's meaning that they do need contract uranium for themselves. And we have negotiations with the customers from the different parts of the world, as I have mentioned. And many of them are interested in contracting in order to be sure that they do secure the supply for the needs of their nuclear power plants. So later this year, we are having our World Nuclear Station Symposium, which is usually being like the starting point for discussion, as all the market players are attending that and they gather in one place in order to start negotiations, start the discussion, and we might see more activity after the World Nuclear Station Symposium that's going to be in 2 weeks from now. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for that. Maybe I can just ask a second question. You reiterated CapEx guidance for this year, but your CapEx spend in the first half of the year was below half. How confident are you that you're going to get to the full CapEx guidance level by the second half of the year?
Thank you for the question. Related with the capital expenditures, actually, most of the capital expenditures are basically done at the end of the year. That is why we have now a little bit lower than the expected level of capital expenditures. That is why we plan to be in our guided levels. That is why we don't have any big problems related with the capital expenditures. So from last periods, you can also see that the capital expenditures in the first half is a little bit lower than it is in a total year. So that is why it's not appropriate to try to catch half of capital expenditures in the half-year period.
Okay. Thank you very much.
The next question comes from the line of Grace Symes with Energy Intelligence. Please go ahead.
Hi. Thanks for taking my question. I noted that it says there's been an increase in cost due to changes in delivery destination points and then an increase in transportation tariffs. I was just curious if you could say anything more in terms of what delivery destinations are being switched and if those transportation tariffs are the Trans-Caspian route or somewhere else. Thanks.
Hi, Grace. It is Sijan here. Yes, thanks a lot for your question. I think that's a common knowledge on the market right now that a lot of utilities ask to deliver uranium to ConverDyn, to Metropolis plant, and ask for book transfers there. And for us, it's literally the other part of the world, and because of that, the transportation takes a bit more. The transportation has been a bit more expensive than, for example, to China or to Russia. We do utilize the Trans-Caspian route, and we do not provide any breakdown on a half a year basis. So when we provide 2025 results, there would be information of how much of uranium to the west went through the Trans-Caspian route and how much went through the St. Petersburg. Thank you.
Thanks. And sorry, one more question. So you mentioned that the downgrade or the decrease in the subsoil use agreements for 2026 is mostly due to JV Budnovskoye. Are there any other projects that are expected to have their agreements decreased as well?
Apart from Budnovskoye, this is Aston here. APAC has also revised their production program, but the exact figure is best to be viewed at the CPR report.
All right. Thank you.
Once again, for those that are dialed in and would like to ask a question, please press star followed by the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Our next question comes from the line of Paul Kiryanov with Bank of America. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kosherbayev and Mr. Zhenibekov. It's Paul Kiryanov from Bank of America. I have 2 questions as well, actually. Can you talk about the uranium market overall? How do you see the uranium supply-demand balance? And is it right to think that the fact that your 26 production is still under review means that the current market balance is not as obvious as it was previously?
Hi. Thanks a lot for the question. Indeed, we're witnessing the changes in terms of market fundamentals. Quite recently, I've heard an opinion that there were discussions regarding deficit. The deficit is coming for many, many years, and deficit was not coming. But I think this time we're seeing that, and it's getting closer. Because years ago, I don't know, back in 2015, when people were speaking about the deficit, they've been speaking about 10 years from that time. Now we're speaking about 5 years period from now. I mean, in the end, utilities do understand that. On an annual basis, we do the customer survey of our customers, and we're asking what is being priority for them when they do choose a supplier. And starting for the last 2 years, the priority for our customers is being the security of supply, not the price. And I think that's a true sign that utilities do understand that there is a need to secure supply for them as the deficit is coming in the long run. But overall, there is a lot of political uncertainty, which stops utilities from doing, which forces utilities to do some other things in relation to secure the conversion and enrichment services provision. But later on, the uranium is being in a base for the nuclear fuel cycle, and there would be a need to procure uranium in any way.
Okay, understood. And my second question is on Budenovka. Can you give us a bit more color on the progress of the infrastructure build-out over there and the overall ramp-up? I believe the previous plan was to have 2 phases, right? So phase 1 over 24 and 25, and then phase 2 over 25 and 26. Is that still the case? And have you now moved to phase 2?
Right now, we're in the progress of concluding a lot of contracts with subcontractors over Budenovka. So everything right now is according to track. We've been able to settle all outstanding issues with the health and safety regulations, the water management regulations, and everything that was imposed upon us by the state. So it's a negotiating process between the company and everything, everyone involved. But the project on construction of a processing shop with the annual capacity of 6,000 tons is progressing in accordance with the schedule as we've already stipulated. And all auxiliary infrastructure as well. And I'm speaking here from the point of knowledge, just to give you more confidence with regards to that, because I'm the chairman of the JV Budenovka Supervisory Board.
Yeah, that's clear. Thank you, guys.
Our next question comes from the line of Andrew Wong with RBC Capital Markets. Please go ahead.
Hi. Thanks for taking my follow-up. Can I just clarify when we would have some more certainty on the 2026 production guidance? Would that come in January when we get the trading update for Q4, or can we expect it more in March when you report the full year results for 2025?
Yeah, the trading update in January, that's when you should expect the figures to be disclosed. But as I've said, this is a dynamic process.
Okay, fair enough.
Early February, basically. Early February. I said January. I meant early February.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then the inventory levels look like they increased a little bit, but they are still below what they were in 2023 and 2022. Are you still comfortable with the level of inventory you have on hand today, or does that number need to be built up a little bit more?
Hi, Andrew. It's Sijan here. Yes, we do feel comfortable with the current level of inventories. It makes us comfortable in terms of being sure that we would be able to fulfill our obligations towards delivering to the uranium to our customers in any place of the world.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And then just on the new nuclear plans in Kazakhstan. It's pretty exciting to be adding nuclear power to the energy mix there. Can you just maybe expand on Kazatomprom's role in that process?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to do that. That's here once again. As you know, Kazatomprom as a separate entity is not involved in the decision-making process or anything associated on how and where and what is going to be built. But as a supplier and the biggest leading world supplier of natural uranium, of course, we take into consideration potential future demand coming from this nuclear power plant. And so in all our strategic endeavors and plans that we foresee for the future, we take these considerations into account. But as I've said, we're not involved in the direct negotiations between the separate entity, the Kazakhstan Nuclear Power Plant Company, the one that's dealing with this process. But then again, I mean, simply speaking, if they built 1 gigawatt reactor, the consumption level is basically around 250 tons of natural uranium per year, from 250 to 400 tons. So it's not that substantial.
Okay,
yeah, please.
Okay, and do you have a sense on when the contracting for those volumes might have to take place? Is that, obviously closer to when it's constructed? So maybe would it be 3 or 4 years ahead of that, or just kind of get a sense of it?
That's going to be sometime well into the next decade.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Once again, if you would like to ask a question, please press star followed by the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Our next question comes from the line of Anna Antonova with JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
Yes, hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me well?
I hear you well. We hear you
yes,
well.
Apologies. I had some difficulties on the line. Thank you. Anna Antonova from JP Morgan. Just maybe 2 follow-up questions from our side. So first, on the subsoil use agreements, you mentioned the changes and the adjustments to the levels in 2025 and 2026, also somewhat in line with what Kazatomprom was kind of doing in the last couple of years. So my first question is, could you please maybe comment on whether there are any discussions that are currently held or maybe are planned for any changes to the subsoil use agreements in 2027? Or maybe comment on how these discussions are generally structured in terms of timing and process. That would be very helpful. That's my first question.
Well, I think it's too early to discuss what's going to happen in 2027. We usually do it a year ahead, so I wouldn't be able to comment anything with regards to 2027. In terms of how the process happens, basically there are several stakeholders involved in the process. That would be the partners from the joint ventures and the government itself. Previously, that would be the Ministry of Energy, but since spring of this year, it's the Agency for Nuclear Energy that's been recently established in Kazakhstan. But
that's very clear. Thank you.
Just one note, I mean, for everyone to understand, the revision of a subsoil use contract, it's a very lengthy and a challenging and a complicated process because it takes a lot of justification. Either you want to decrease it or increase it, either way. So the government has a very strict stance on that. Please go ahead, sorry.
No, sorry, please.
I've already said that. I just wanted to stipulate that it's a challenging process because people always talk about revising subsoil use legislations, contracts, but it sounds easy, but in fact, there is a lot of background work done.
That's very helpful. Thank you. My second question is on the rare metals production in H1. So we noticed that beryllium and tantalum products sales and tolling decreased year on year in H1. So my question is whether we can consider this seasonal effect, or kind of there are adjustments to the plans of rare metals production for this year or for the medium term, especially given that this is the area of the strategic focus for the company?
Hi, Anna. It's Sijan here. Yes, indeed, there are several factors that are being a part of the changes that you have mentioned. Seasonality has been one of them. And also the current geopolitical tension is being another factor that affects the breakdown of sales of rare metals sector. But in general, in a long run, we're not seeing anything that would significantly affect the numbers of our sales of rare metals, including beryllium, tantalum, and niobium. There might be some changes in terms of the market price because tantalum is being one of commodities is being traded more or less publicly, and there's a market price for that, and then there's fluctuations of the market price for that. The same as in beryllium and niobium, but there being more of the off-market commodities rather than market-traded commodity. So indeed, yeah, we're being affected by the market prices. We're also looking. There is a seasonality, but in the long run, we're not seeing anything that should affect our sales of rare metals significantly. Thank you.
It's very clear. Thank you so much. And the final question from our side. Is there any update on the potential expansion of the footprint in the nuclear fuel cycle, kind of going downstream for Kazatomprom, given, again, it's one of the strategic areas for the company? And I mean, with the nuclear power plants in Kazakhstan kind of are now in motion for construction, approval, and everything, are there any more active talks maybe now around the enrichment or kind of setting enrichment and or processing capacities in Kazakhstan, given the developments on the kind of consumer side?
That is an excellent question. It is a dynamic and ongoing process, basically, as we speak. We have several discussions with different parties involved, but as it stands, there is nothing to announce yet. But I think the announcement will follow in due course. Maybe not this year, maybe next year. But as you've stipulated, this is a strategic direction that we're going to move into. But we always like to reiterate to everyone that most and foremost, the most important thing is to have the economic feasibility and the guaranteed demand for any future production of any potential conversion on and enrichment capacity.
Very clear. Thank you so much. No more comments from our side.
Our next question comes from the line of Grace Hans with Energy Intelligence. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my follow-up question. I'm just curious, it mentions in your results that the uranium term price has remained around $80 per pound, and that is not viewed as sufficient to return to 100% subsoil use agreement levels. I'm curious if there's like a specific price that would merit returning to 100% levels, and if you think that $80 per pound kind of reflects the actual contracting that's going on in the market. Thanks.
Well, Grace, it appears as if you're asking whether there is an incentive price for us that we're going to rely upon with regards to our production level. Am I correct?
Yeah, sort of, which I assume you'll not answer directly, but...
Well, we know each other well enough at this point, I guess. So, and it's not that I don't want to answer. It's just like I don't have an answer because we don't have the incentive price. We have a different methodology here. And then again, I'm not at liberty to disclose this once again. But, as history shows us, our market-oriented approach basically guides us with regards to production levels. So, yeah. We basically, of course, we take into consideration what's going on with the overall market price, but that's not a deciding factor overall, if one may say so.
All right, thank you.
There are a lot of implications. There are a lot of implications attributed to that.
Our next question comes from the line of Paul Kiryanov with Bank of America. Please go ahead.
Hey, guys. It's Paul Kiryanov, Bank of America again. Thanks for taking my follow-up. I just wanted to ask on sulfuric acid. So you say in the release that 2026 supplies are estimated to be stable. You're also progressing your own plant TQZ. And if I understand correctly, there are also 2 more acid plants coming online in Kazakhstan next year. So does all of this mean that sulfuric acid issues are largely behind us now, or does there still remain uncertainty on supply of sulfuric acid in the country?
Well, overall, it is safe to say that the challenges we faced back in the end of 2023, the beginning of 2024 are passed beyond us. But then again, we cannot completely decide or guarantee the behavior of the sulfuric acid producers, which in their turn are trying to maximize their profits by demanding the highest price possible. Overall, I don't expect any production shortfalls. We do not expect any production shortfalls associated with lack of sulfuric acid price. Not with lack of sulfuric price, but associated with the high sulfuric acid prices.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
And that concludes the question and answer session from the audio line. I will now pass the call back to Mrs. Muldagaliyeva to take written questions from the webcast participants. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. We have several questions that were submitted through the written line. And the first one is coming from the individual investor, Mr. Samu Yarvelia. So the question is, what is going on with ANO Energy pounds?
Hi, it's Sijan here. Yeah, thanks a lot for the question, but we're not authorized to comment on that as we're not being in a part of the ANO's board of directors. We're not being represented there. We're only the shareholder of that. Should you have any questions regarding ANO's plans regarding how they're going to manage the uranium that they have on their accounts, please refer to our IR team and we would be able to provide you contact details of the board of directors of ANO. Thank you.
The next question is coming from Citi. Hello from Citi and thanks for your presentation. What's the reason for the restatement in the accounts? And the answer will be provided by Mr. Hassanov, who is the Managing Director on Economic and Finance.
Hello. Thank you for the question. Actually, it's not a restatement. Actually, it's just an explanation of the additional income that was actually reported last year. It was actually mostly related with the incurring the control on the Budenovskoye. That's why we have put it in our accounting that about 295 billion tenge as additional non-monetary income for acquiring the control on the Budenovskoye. That's why actually we shouldn't say that it's a real restatement. It's just the explanation of what happened last year.
Yeah, the next question is coming from Arthur Hyde from Federal Capital Management. Congratulations on the impressive results. The company continues to see increased cash flows and today has a significant net cash position. Can you please speak to the company's options from a capital allocation standpoint? Do you foresee cash levels continuing to rise? And if so, would the company entertain a special dividend or share buyback option? So the answer will also be provided by Mr. Hassanov.
Thank you for the question. Actually, yeah, Kazatomprom is showing the great results last years, and you can see that our all financial positions, all indicators are very good. That is why, and also you do know that our dividend policy is based on the free cash flow. That is why we are not expecting to change it, and we are not expecting any additional dividends or any buybacks. That's why the main idea of our initial dividend policy was related with the all cash flow which is available for dividend payments should be paid to our shareholders. We are still on this position, and no big changes are going to happen related with the dividends, and no any other optional or additional dividends related with these excess cash flows will not happen.
Thank you, Mr. Hassanov. The next question is coming from Alex Bedwani, Canaccord Genuity. Hi, team. Nice results. Can you please update on the sulfuric acid plant? Have permits been received?
Yeah, Alex, hi once again. I guess it's safe to say that the permit has been received, as already said, and basically it's an ongoing process that is happening as we speak.
Thank you, Mr. Kosherbayev. The next question is coming from Benjamin Feingold from Ocean Wall. And the question is, when do you expect to see India emerging as a larger regional buyer of Kazatomprom production? How are considerations going with Indian utilities, and do you expect India to become a top 5 destinations for Kazatomprom production before 2030? The answer will be provided by Mr. Yakov.
Thank you, Borekos. Thank you, Ben, for the question. We have worked with Indian counterparties regarding the supply of uranium, and these contracts were publicly we have disclosed that we have been working with Indian utilities. And being the largest uranium producer, and I think we will be in a short list in terms of when they do consider the uranium procurement. And quite recently, there was a news from India that India has decided to nearly quadruple its uranium imports by 2033, which would be the part of their national nuclear energy mission, in order to support the country's growing fleet of nuclear reactors. So, as I mentioned, Kazatomprom is being the world's largest uranium producer, and we would be happy to provide uranium there. So we have always been in contact with a counterparty from India, and shall there be any changes, you might see it publicly disclosed if there would be any significant changes.
Thank you, Sejan. The next question is coming from Max Christoph, the individual investor. And the question is, you have big changes in net working capital. What is behind the big decrease in receivables in Q1 25, and what do you expect for the rest of the year? And the answer will be provided by Mr. Hassanov.
Thank you for the question. Actually, the decrease of the receivables related with the sales that were happened in the last quarter of 2024. So we did have receivables at the end of last year. So after the payment of them, we have decreased the amount of receivables. This is the main issue of it. This is the main cause of it. So actually, in an annual basis, it can be changed. It can be changed year by year, because the sales are not happening at the same time each period. That is why if we have, for example, sales in October and we have received the cash flow in December, so the receivables also will be in a low level. So this is related with the time issue related with the sales of volume.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Hassanov. The next two questions are coming from Kirill Tachennikov. The first one is, what were the reasons for revision of Budenovka 2026 production? And the answer will be provided by Mr. Kosherbayev.
Yes, hi, thank you for this question. Well, it's not only 2026 production that has been revised for Budenovka, but in 2025, 26, 27. We previously explained this, and I'm happy to do so once again. The issue basically lies in, as you know, Kazakhstan is a water scarce country. We had a new ministry that was established back in 2023 or 2022 with the water management industry. And then they had to revise the entire legislation associated with water consumption, health and safety regulations. And in order for the JV
to be in line with everything that the government expected. They had to revise everything, and that basically halted the entire program. That's why we had to switch. And that's why we were able to successfully negotiate the production level with the government, because they understood the rationale of such an initiative. I hope this answers your question. And the second part is going to be answered by Mr. Hassanov.
Yeah, the second question is materials and supplies expenses declined 16% year-on-year in first half of 2025. Should we expect decline on this line for the full year results of 2025?
Thank you for your question. Actually, the expenses related with the materials and is including the purchased uranium in the P&L statement. That is why, due to the decrease of spot prices, we do have declined amount of materials. So if the spot price stays the same, which is lower than the period of last year, so we will see the decline in materials. So we should understand the most part of the huge part of the materials includes the materials that are purchased, like uranium production, uranium products.
Yeah, and the last question so far is coming from Daniel Serikov. Over the past year, it has become known that foreign companies such as C29 and Laramid will be looking for uranium in Kazakhstan, including the areas nearby Kazatomprom mines. At the same time, uranium exploration in the country is expected to become the exclusive prerogative of Kazatomprom next year after the subsoil code is amended in parliament. Do you plan to obtain licenses from these companies or their affiliates?
Thank you for this question. Well, as you probably know, the legislation allows for uranium exploration to be carried out by any company. It's only the production that needs to be carried out with Kazatomprom's participation. So I guess it is too early to say or to discuss this matter. And with regards to suggested changes to the legislation, well, I'm in no position to comment on that. So I think we should discuss this further down the road.
Thank you, gentlemen. I do not see any further written questions submitted so far. Operator, could you check if there are any additional questions coming in?
As of the moment, there are no further questions on the conference lines.
Okay, thank you very much. Since there are no questions, thank you everyone for participating in today's call. Thank you and thanks to our management for taking all these questions. As always, if there are any additional questions that might come based on our results, please feel free to contact IR team. We're always happy to answer those in written. Thank you very much and have a good day.